Hi guys, I hope you all had a chance to check out our lesson plan today and learn a little bit more about what a self-portrait is. Today what we're going to try and do is create our own self-portrait, but we're going to put a little twist on it. We're going to draw ourselves as a Lego person. Alright guys, so to get started with drawing our Lego person self-portrait, you'll notice I have my paper portrait style, which means the long side is going up and down. And right now I just have my pencil and an eraser, which I should grab. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is let's start with our Lego person's head. And we're going to do that right towards the top of our paper. So when I'm drawing today, make sure you're drawing lightly at home. I might draw a little bit darker to help you guys see the lines I'm making, but please make sure at home that we are drawing lightly. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a straight line going across the top of my paper. Then I'm going to make some lines going straight down from the side or from the ends of that line I just drew. So I'll do one, and I'll do another one on the other side. Now, just like I was making a square, I'm going to make another straight line to close it off, make it a full shape. So now, Lego people's heads aren't square shaped. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make some little curved lines in the corners to make it look a little bit more like a Lego person. So very carefully, I'm just going to kind of make a little curved line in each corner. So it's almost like I'm putting a little triangle in each corner. I'm just going to do that for every single one, all four of them. Alright, now using my eraser, I can go back and just erase that corner of my square that I drew in the very beginning. So it looks like my head is kind of rounded, just like a Lego person. Alright, let's keep going. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make two little lines coming out of the bottom of my head. Don't worry about the face, we will come back and do the face later. I'm going to put two little lines coming out the bottom of my head for my Lego person's neck. Next, let's draw another straight line that's going to go from the connect the bottom of his neck, but what I'm going to do with this line is I'm going to bring it outside past the side of his head or her head. So you'll notice if I line my pencil up here, my line that I just drew goes a little bit past the side of the head. And I'll do that on the other side too. Again, it's just barely going past the side of my head. Alright, next, what I want to do is I'm going to bring these lines down a little bit to give my Lego person their body. So again, almost like I'm making another big square, I'm just going to bring these lines down, and then again, I'm going to connect them. This is going to be for my Lego person's body. Alright, next, let's keep going and finish up the legs for the rest of our Lego person. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to kind of the bottom of that second square I drew. And I've already started it here, but I'm just going to keep bringing this line down just a little bit further. About the same length as I made the body. Should be about the same length for the legs. So I need to make that a little longer. I'm going to do the same line on the side. Alright, now what I want to do is I'm going to make two lines coming towards the middle space right here, but I'm not going to have them touch. So you'll notice I'm going to bring one line in, I'm going to bring the other line in, but I'm not going to make them touch. I want a little small space in between my two legs. Alright, now I think this one's a little too long. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them up, but not towards the waist. We're going to stop a little bit before that, about right there, and I'll do the same thing for my other line. And then I'm just going to make a straight line to connect them. Alright, next I'm going to do a couple more straight lines. I'm going to put one down here and one on this side for my Lego person's feet. I'm also going to put one right here, right underneath where their shirt would be, for what would be kind of my Lego person's waist, or where they would wear their belt. Alright, we're almost there. Now let's give our Lego person some arms. So right underneath, not next to these corners, but underneath it a little bit, so I'll make a little mark, is where I'm going to start my arms. Now to do that, I'm going to start with almost like I took a lowercase letter N and I stretched it out. I'm going to do that same line on the side. So again, it's kind of like I'm drawing a lowercase letter N, but I took the sides of it and I kind of stretched it out a little bit. Alright, from here, let's start with our left arm. So I'm going to draw a line. It's going to come to the left side just a little bit, because I don't want it right next to his body. So I'm going to draw it coming out a little bit at an angle, and then I'm going to have it go straight. And I'm going to bring it just above the bottom of my Lego person's body. When I stop that line, I'm just going to make a little line that's going to curve over just a little bit. Let's bring the other end of this line straight up. And then just like we put an angle on this line, let's put an angle to bring it back into our Lego body. You know what, that looks a little small. Let me try that again. So let's bring it down a little bit further. Bring it over. Back up. And an angle into our body. That looks a little better. Alright, now let's give them a quick hand. So what I'm going to do, or her, I'm going to put two little lines, like we did for the neck, coming out of the bottom of the sleeve. Next, like I'm drawing a lowercase letter R to connect to the bottom of that line, I'm going to do one on the opposite. So this time it's going to be like I'm drawing that letter R backwards. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take the bottom of that letter R, I'm going to make a little loop. Same on the other side. And I'm going to make a little curved line to connect them. Just like that. For my first Lego hand. Now let's do one on the other side. So again, I'm going to bring this line kind of out and away from the body. This time I'm going to the right hand side. And if I want, I can line this up to make sure I'm making my lines the same length. If you don't have another pencil at home, you can do this with a ruler or a second piece of paper. Alright, now again, I want to make a little curved line to bring it back towards my body. Straight line to go up to where his elbow would be. And then I'm bringing it back into my body. Now again, let's give our last hand. So two little lines coming out of the bottom of what would be his sleeve or her sleeve. And then again, a lowercase letter R, a backwards lowercase letter R. Let's make a little loop on both sides. And then we'll make another loop line to connect them. And like that, we have our Lego person. Now, to finish our Lego portraits, one thing I'm going to need to do is I need to find a mirror so that I can find a picture so that I can see what I look like. All of us have different details based upon what we look like. So using my mirror now, I'm going to start adding some details to my Lego person. So I'm going to first start with the face and give them some eyes and a mouth and a little nose. I'll give myself ears and hair. And then I'll start putting some details on my body to make it look like something I would wear, not just a plain Lego guy. All right, if it looks like I'm going fast during this, it's because I'm fast forwarding, but please know that I am taking my time when I do the next step on my Lego person. All right. All right, now that I've drawn my Lego person and I've given them a little bit of a background, now I'm ready to start coloring my Lego person in. So at home, you can use whatever materials you have to color. You can use markers, colored pencils, crayons, oil pastels, or paint. I'm going to use watercolor paint because it's one of my favorite things to use. But again, at home, you can use any materials that you might have access to, okay? With watercolor paint, one thing I do want to remind my friends at home is that, like the name suggests, watercolor paint means we're going to use lots of water. So even before I start painting, I want to make sure I wake up the color I want to use by adding some water to it. And then I'm just gently kind of tapping the top of my paint to pick it up onto my paintbrush. Then I can bring it to my picture to start painting. I just want to take my time when I'm doing this. Again, if it looks like I'm going quickly, that's because I'm fast forwarding the video. Okay, but please take your time when painting. We don't want to rush ourselves. Nice, good art takes time, so please do not rush. Take your time and do a nice job. You might notice that I'm using more paint and going over some of my paint to make sure my colors become a little bit darker and stand out on my paper. With watercolor paint, it's really easy to either add too little paint or to add too much. One thing to kind of keep in mind is that you can always put more paint onto a picture. It's harder to take that paint off. So start lightly and add more if your color isn't dark enough or if you want it to make it darker. And if I want to use a different color, one thing I got to make sure is I clean off my paintbrush completely with using my water, and a paper towel helps too. Now I'm ready to switch colors. I might even use some smaller paintbrushes to help me with some of these smaller parts. All right, now I still have a lot of more painting to do because I have to finish up my background and a few other things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause now and let my painting dry before I move on to the next step. But at home, try to make sure you fill in your whole background. Have some fun with it. It does not need to be the art room like mine. It could be anywhere you want your Lego person to be. Where would you want to be as a Lego person? All right, I'm going to let this dry and we will See you for part 2. Alright guys, so now that my painting is dry, and you can notice that I put a few more details on, started working a little bit on the background. But once my paint is all dry, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie or fine point marker, and I want to go back over my pencil lines and trace them to make them a little bit darker. Also, certain parts like my mustache and my eyes, I'm going to color in black now using my Sharpie. Now again, I want to take my time with this and not rush myself. If it looks like I'm going quickly, that's because I am fast forwarding. Alright guys, and like that we should have a finished Lego self-portrait. Um, for those friends at home, if you can, try to take a picture of what the portrait you made, and if you can send it to me on our Google Classroom. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys create. Have fun. See you later.